Without you. Are you sure you want to leave?
You're leaving. Wow.
It says
Okay.
that. It's weird. No, it's weird. So stay in studio and then let's look at the chat. Okay. I think we got it. All right. If you are out there, first of all, this is the Martin Memo. We're super glad to have you on another Martin Memo Monday. We'll get started here in about 2-ish minutes, but if you are online as of now, go ahead and please put something in the chat saying that you are alive and well and you mustered the amazing polar vortex 2.0 that we suffered over this past weekend. Like how the first one, at least for me, they were saying, we're going to have 10 inches of snow. It's going to be terrible. And we got like half an inch of freezing rain. And then this time, it was like everyone
They were
was
serious
like,
this time.
Yeah, they were serious. I'll give them that. They were definitely a little more serious.
Yeah.
Is anyone out there?
I have sent
Can anyone hear
word to
me?
my people.
Perfect. Let's see. See if they join in here in a minute. It's the first time doing it on YouTube on Riverside, so we have 2 participants. I think that might just be us, though.
Well,
We will get it. Okay. Got another minute here and we'll get started. Perfect.
oh, we got somebody in the chat.
Perfect. That's my mom right there, coming in clutch. Oh, I love it. We'll get started here in about 30 seconds or so. We won't keep our audience waiting.
Echo. You're
Oh,
dealing
wow.
with an echo, bud.
Echo. Let's see. Is it less echoey now?
No, you're still dealing with some echo. Shalom, Kid Fury. How are you doing? My favorite little Mossad agent.
Is it echoey for you guys? W mom supporting son, right? Clutch. Are you guys hearing anything? Can you hear me still? Is there an echo? This is our first time going on Riverside, so excuse us for getting everything situated. This will not happen in the future. Is there an echo? I'm a Maltese dog.
No, sir. You're my favorite Mossad agent.
Mossad agent. I love it. I'm not hearing any complaints, so I think that's a good sign. What do you say, Isaiah?
I think it's fine. I think it should be good.
Awesome. All right,
Good
let's
to
go
go.
ahead and get started there. Hello, Miss Faye. All right, well, first of all, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I have the lovely honor of having Mr. Isaiah Lafone, the owner and founder of the Isaiah Lafone Show, on today. So, Isaiah, it's great to have you on.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. I've known Isaiah since, about New Year's, roughly around that time.
Roughly around that time, a little bit before that. Yes, sir.
Yes. There's still an echo. Okay, I'm sorry.
You must repent. You must do penance.
Is there an echo now? Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love technology.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Echo from Ben 10. Is there an echo now?
Oh, you sound great
you
now.
sound great now.
I sound great?
But now I'm
But
hearing
now
myself.
I'm hearing myself.
Oh, you gotta love it. Sorry, y'all. It's not the best way to do things. How about now?
Speak again.
Speak again.
Oh, now I hear
now
myself.
I hear myself, and
Yeah, of course. It's better, but not totally gone.
Oh.
Curious. Anything now? Still hear yourself, I take it?
Hello?
Hello?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I've got the echo now.
echo now.
Isaiah has the echo. Oh, I'm sorry, all. Oh, wow, we have 21 people on here today, too.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
to
Welcome
having Okay, I can't dude, bro. I'm listening myself.
myself, dude.
No, you're good. We're gonna figure this out one way or another. We're gonna do this. Isaiah has the echo disease. Yeah, he does. It's terrible. Isaiah, just
Yes,
try
sir.
it now.
I can hear
I
myself.
can hear myself.
You can hear yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You jerk. How about now?
Hello? Oh, nope. Can't hear it anymore. We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're having a little echo out there, we do apologize in advance. It's a new system. It's a little confusing and difficult, so we are going to go ahead and apologize and just go ahead and get things started now. Well, first of all, like I've said in the past, let me just turn this down. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Before we move on to the interview portion and talk about all the wonderful things that Mr. Lafone is doing, just wanted to give you a couple updates on what we are doing here at the Martin Memo. So the Martin Memo, we have about 4,750 subscribers, a little over that. So we are continuing to grow. We're continuing to do better and making sure that we get out there and market ourselves well. This is also bridging into the whole conversation of making the media team, as we've all been aware by this point. So we're creating a bigger coalition. It's not just going to be myself anymore or just Isaiah anymore. It's going to be a whole group of us, a total of 8 people, 8 individuals putting together quality programming all in one place on one app. So we're super excited for the opportunity. That's coming July 1st. We're not going to give too many details out yet. We're just keep doing little teasers and keep marketing, and we're going to make a huge coalition and expand the program to new audiences and a lot more people out there. So we're also looking at doing some ads with Paramount, which is pretty cool. Stumbled across that opportunity not too long ago, so we're going to plan on taking advantage of that, and we're just going to continue marketing ourselves, getting out there and producing good quality content. One of the things that we have not discussed yet, but is something that I'd like to debut today, is we're going to have like a faith hour. So someone, part of our team, is going to start a little faith episode in the morning. So they're going to give a little scripture, a little daily devotion, if you will, and they're just going to talk about the importance of that verse, chapter, whatever they decide, and then they're going to do prayers, and they're going to take prayer requests as well. So someone on our team will be doing that, and we are super, super excited and humbled for the opportunity to have that on. But without further ado, enough about what the Martin Media is doing. We're going to go ahead and get started onto the nitty-gritty of things. So Isaiah, we've met a little over 2 months ago now, or a little over a month ago, excuse me. We actually met because Isaiah reached out. Someone had posted one of my shorts. It was like Teen Conservatives USA or someone like that. And he had to take a double take because he thought that I was him, since apparently we look alike and apparently the chats all agree with us, that it's just a clone version of each other. Isaiah is the much younger version, apparently. You wouldn't be able to tell. No, I'm just kidding. His maturity definitely is on par, if not above mine at this point. Yeah, of course. No. But yeah, overall, we've had a great experience. We've talked a lot. We're talking about, I was on his podcast last week where we got to talk about Christian nationalism in the U.S., and that was a pretty fun one. So if you have not had the opportunity to check that out, feel free to go to his channel and check it out. It's all there, and you get to see some spicy and some hot takes from both sides, or what some people may call it extremist or extreme, but I think overall they're very good takes. But nonetheless, Isaiah, you know, we've talked just about every single day now, and one thing that was very troubling to see, and I think that we owe it to the audience to dive into a little bit today, is those gosh darn Epstein files. Obviously, there was another big batch that was released. They still have a lot more to go. I think, what's the number at? Like 15% that they've released, if that?
15% they've released
Yeah.
at this point in time, about 6 million of the files, 6 million files, and there's like 2,000 videos, that, thousands of pictures. Yeah.
And I know you're going through it, and God bless you for that, because that is just horrific. I've only seen a few things. I haven't dived into the files yet. But can you just give the audience a little bit on what you're seeing and some of the travesties that are occurring?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's worse than we thought. We were expecting it to be terrible, and it ended up actually being worse than we even perceived that it might be. Pretty much everyone is in the files. Originally, it was who went to Epstein's Island, and now the question seems to be who didn't go to Epstein Island. As pretty much everyone that you can think of is there, including and up to Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, which is extremely strange. He is being described in the files having strange things, having dances performed for him and things of that nature, up to including George Bush Sr., at least, is mentioned in the files. He's referred to as George Bush 1. I haven't seen anything on George W. Bush, as in, Bush Jr. yet, but in my calculation, if Bush is referred to as George Bush 1, there must be a George Bush 2, and we know that Bush and Clintons were very close. George Bush 1 is being described as graping a little boys. It's abhorrent stuff. Everyone's mentioned. Trump is in the files. Many of those accusations were deemed not credible by the FBI, but there is one that is deemed credible, and that is the accusation that he and Jeffrey Epstein held what can only be described as sex auctions at Mar-a-Lago, in which they would bring these underage women to Mar-a-Lago, and they would line them up, and they would auction them off to these old rich gentlemen. And Don Jr. is implicated. Ivanka Trump is implicated. Elon Musk is directly named as Epstein, talking about sending him an helicopter to bring him to the island. And so Musk is in the files as well. Pretty much anyone you can think of. Chuck Schumer is in the files. It's insanity. And we made fun of Alex Jones for a long time for talking about this sacred cabal of pedophiles and all this stuff, and they're running society. It was true. It was true. Like, objectively, our elites, majority of them are pedophiles who were actually actively performing satanic rituals on Epstein's Island. There is a temple there. We thought that its purpose was, it had no purpose. It was just for show. But we know that they were performing satanic rituals on the island. They were taking these little boys, and they were taking an Arabian sword, and they were cutting their feet, and they were doing it in such a way that it would it wouldn't leave any marks left on it. I can't remember exactly what the exact wording was, but they were doing these rituals. They were ritualistically murdering infants, literal born infants. And this is not just abortion. This is a born child. What they would do is, and I hate to be vulgar, but this is just what happened. What they would do is they would rape these little girls, these 13, 14-year-old girls, force them to go through with their birth, and when they gave birth, they would take the child and they would, sacrifice it and do all these abhorrent things to it, which I'm not going to get into the full details. We're going to talk more about it in my show, where I will actually be able to pull up and show you the files and show you the text in them. And so it's abhorrent stuff. It's far worse than we could have ever thought. It's raised more questions about, other secretive places like Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove, if you don't know, is a summer camp for the rich and the elite, and they come there. There's the famous owl, where they have been pictured performing different satanic rituals. We don't know who all is involved in all of that either, and so it's raised a lot more questions, as it seems that the conspiracy theorists and the nut jobs were actually correct about what is going on in not just American society, but Western society as a whole.
What do you think was your most surprising find after reviewing those files? I know there's a lot, and I think for me, the George Bush one definitely probably was the one that I was most surprised by. But did you have a specific one or instance that you were like, "What?" Yeah.
Yeah, so Bush obviously was surprising, but it wasn't the most surprising. I had my own suspicions regarding Bush Sr., at least, for a long time. Bush Sr., if you do not know, was the CIA agent. He was part
Yep.
of the CIA. He was a CIA agent in charge of John F. Kennedy's security on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, the day of the president's assassination. Soon after he gets promoted. Soon after that, George Bush becomes the head of the CIA, which is ludicrous when you really think about it. Why would you put the agent who failed? His only job was to protect the president of the United States and keep him from death, and he failed his job. And now we're going to give him a promotion. He's going to become the director of the CIA, unless his job was to do something else other than protect the president of the United States. Ultimately, I believed that JFK's assassination was an inside job. Ultimately, I think the CIA were in on it. I think the evidence is pretty clear on that. Kennedy was looking at getting rid of the CIA and was talking about this secret group of people trying to control American politics up to his assassination. And Nixon would talk about similar group of people. So ultimately, I had my suspicions about Bush from the beginning. I think the most surprising, other than, say, maybe Stephen Hawking, of all people, being on Epstein's island, like, what was he doing? The man was paralyzed. Other than that, the most surprising to me wasn't even Trump. A lot of people have said that. I kind of expected Trump to be in the files. I expected he was lying to us. I think the most surprising for me was Elon Musk. I did not expect Elon Musk to be in the files, of all people. He was the one talking about getting them released and this and that and whatever, and Trump is in the files, and believe me, Trump's a bad guy, this and that and whatever. And so, to me, the most surprising was Elon Musk being in the files. Other than that, maybe, I don't know. Shoot. Other than that, maybe, like, I don't know, freaking Robert De Niro being in the files, or George Clooney, those type of people. I mean, doesn't surprise me, when you really think about it. I mean, most of the elites in Hollywood were on the island at some point.
Yeah, I want to get your take on this because I think for a lot of the supporters out here, probably some people tuning in today, sometimes I struggle with the same question, and millions of Americans do. If Trump was in the files, why do you think, and he knew personally that he was most likely in the files, why do you think he campaigned to release the files and put them out there? Like that's the only part that doesn't really, I guess, make sense to me. What's your take on that?
Because he's a plant. Because he was put in his position, based on what I can tell from the files. The files explicitly state that that the Israeli government had blackmail on him. It explicitly says that he is compromised. Well, not the Israeli government particularly, but it says he's compromised. It says blackmail is held over his head. It explicitly says that Jared Kushner is the one running the White House and running the administration, which is something we kind of suspected. The sort of Jewish involvement and everything. Epstein was talking in the files extensively about justifying what he was doing because these children were goyim. They were Gentiles, and therefore they're like subhuman, and I can do what I want to with them. And there was a lot of racism in those files, Jewish against the Gentiles. But why he would run it? Because he knew it would play well with the American people. He's a politician, and he just says things that he knows are, the people want to hear. But ultimately, I don't think he ever had the intention of releasing them. So quickly, as soon as he gets into office, very soon after, the files don't exist. They're not real. Stop asking for them, and I'm not in them, even if they were exist. It's just, even Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro needs to answer for everything he said. Because Shapiro's out here. There's no files. I have sources within the government that tell me there's no files. And,
Yeah,
it's just
right?
child porn. Guess what? It wasn't just child porn.
Yeah.
A lot of his buddies are implicated. Several prominent Jewish figures are implicated. George Soros is implicated as well. And so it's a hotbed of disgusting, abhorrent crap. And ultimately, I think that he said he was going to release it because he knew it would play well with the American people.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. That was a sensitive topic, and I mean between that, the JFK files, the
Which we haven't seen,
RFK
by the
as
way.
well, MLK. Yeah, I think there's a lot that still is unanswered, and I know we're only 15% of the way through the Epstein files, so hopefully this other 85%, if it ever comes out,
If it ever
offers
comes
a
out.
little more detail. It's kind of like there's this meme where it's like, oh, hey, babe, wake up, the new movie just downloaded, or, you know, Stranger Things. It's like, oh, hey, babe, wake up, the Epstein files, the new season just dropped. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of chaos, and it's just unreal of everything that's happening. And this is something that I now have to put on myself as homework to dive into and do some research. And I'll probably have to say a few prayers before, after, and during the
Before and
entire
after
process.
and during, and you'll probably stay up like I did till 4 a.m. the night I was reading it because I was so distressed over
Yeah.
what I was reading. I do not play the videos. If you want to go and do your own research, I encourage you to do such a thing, but do not play the videos. There are some important videos of torture happening, and those screams that I was hearing from these little children will stick with me forever. But I would encourage you to do your own research, but just don't watch
Yeah.
the videos.
Absolutely. You heard him here, folks. Make sure that viewer discretion is advised.
Is
So,
most certainly advice.
yeah, I'll do it for you guys, and I'll give my feedback as well, and probably do a whole episode. I've been holding off on an episode because I wanted more to drop, but I think now we probably have enough material to do an episode, if not 2 or 3 or 10, with how much is described in that files and how terrible it is. I do want to go ahead and switch topics in the best segue ever imaginable. But you have expressed that you are a Christian nationalist. You view yourself as that. We've talked about it on your podcast. Why do you think that you are a Christian nationalist? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but what led you to that ideology?
Yes, so Christian nationalist is a term that can mean a lot of different things, so it's good that we go ahead and define our terms. So ultimately, Christian nationalism can kind of range from just having the vision of the founders, as I do, and I'll get into that in just a second, to being a like full-on, we need a Christian theocracy, we need a monarch, this, that, and whatever. So I am not to the position of, we need a Christian theocracy, so to speak, and a monarch to enforce that. I don't think you're ever going to get the American people to put a monarch over their head. Because, that's just not in our nature. But I am very much so a Christian nationalist because I want to return to the intent of the founders. And the founders explicitly intended us to be a Christian nation. You can see that perfectly well in John Jay's quote. He writes to John Marshall Sr. in 1816. He says that this is a Christian nation which elects and prefers. It's our prerogative, it's our duty to elect and prefer Christians for our rulers and elected officials. And I believe in the re-implementation of blasphemy laws. It's illegal to blaspheme the name of Jesus Christ. I believe that we should, very much so, only allow Christians to run for public office as the founders intended. We should also fix my light here. There we go. We should also be in a position where we have Sabbath laws, where there are some businesses which are non-essential businesses. I'm not talking about first responders or grocery stores, but non-essential businesses required to be closed on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, as was the founders' intention. They are pretty clear about this. They allowed these laws to stay in place. That's the thing. You get a position where you say, oh, I think that it's a violation of the First Amendment. We have freedom of religion. And if you think that the principle of freedom of religion means that anyone's allowed to be, a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Satanist to kind of just do whatever they want in religious terms, then you are profoundly wrong, and you have a quarrel with the founding fathers, who did not intend freedom of religion to include building Hindu temples in Texas. They intended freedom of religion to mean freedom of denomination, which you did not have in Britain. You did not have in most countries in Europe. You were either the established church or you were persecuted. And so that was their intention. And so in being a Christian nationalist, I am to the extent that the founders were, in which they intended this to be a Christian nation, which served Christians and which Christians ruled this land.
I do want to touch on that because a lot of people say that this is a ridiculous take, and I find it every once in a while on my videos and other people's, that the founders hated the Christian religion and that they wanted to strip it, and that's how they set up everything, which is just
bullcrap.
Apparently wrong. It's boo boo caca or whatever. Because you can look at one verse, and James Madison is quoted for using it. The Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, and the Lord is our king. He will save us, which is Isaiah 33, verse 22. I think that verse alone kind of shows the structure of the government because you have the judge, which is the judicial, you have the lawgiver, which is the legislative, and then the king is our version of the president. What do you say to people that say that this is not a Christian nation and that it was not founded on Christian and biblical principles?
Yeah, so if you believe that this isn't a Christian nation and that the founding fathers didn't intend for the Christian religion to rule the United States, then you have a problem with specifically John Witherspoon, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. He was the only minister to sign the Declaration. He was a Presbyterian minister, go Presbyterians, and he was the president of Princeton University. And he explicitly said that he is the best friend of American liberty and the American country who promotes the good, the true, and the beautiful. That is the Christian religion. He said, you are the most ardent friend of the United States if you promote the Christian religion. And so ultimately, yes, we will be reading the chat later. Put your questions in the chat. But so ultimately, if you believe that this is a secular nation and that the founders intended it to be such, then you have a problem with the founding fathers themselves. Ultimately, I've seen the term used all around. They were just atheists, agnostics, and deists. Well, there were 54 signers of the Declaration of Independence, and there are 90 founding fathers in all. So to just make a blatant statement like that is dangerous and wrong. Ultimately, there were only a few that would count as maybe deists. There were no atheists. There were no agnostics. There were deists, and those deists included like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, later on James Madison. But they also included Christians, and most of them were Christians. Elbridge Gerry, Elias Boudinot, John Witherspoon, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton was a Presbyterian. I'm trying to think of more. John Hancock, Samuel Adams. John Adams was Unitarian, so he's not really a Christian, but he claimed to be. Samuel Adams specifically said that the pastors of the American Revolution were more indispensable than George Washington was, and that's a very, a very powerful thing to say. And so you had all these different Christians: Benjamin Rush, James Wilson. I mean, I could go on and on forever about the amount of Christians that were represented among the founding fathers. Charles Carroll of Carrollton, he was a Catholic. He was the only Catholic signer of the Declaration, and he was the longest to last alive. So ultimately, if you make that blanket statement and you believe that America is a secular nation, then you have a problem with the founders, and ultimately you know nothing of what you are talking about. You know nothing other than to repeat slogans.
What do you say to the people? And I know this will be like the last question on the topic, but I think it's important that we establish this and allow our viewers, because you have an excellent explanation on this, so I'm going to allow you to answer it. But the people who use the Thomas Jefferson quote of talking to the church and saying the freedom of religion. What would you tell them explicitly, and can you walk us through what that quote actually means that's often misconstrued and used as a club nowadays?
Yes, absolutely. So Thomas Jefferson, obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of Jefferson. He obviously wrote the Declaration of Independence, and I think he did a lot of good for the country. But ultimately, he was not here for the Constitutional Convention, comes back, reads the Constitution, and immediately starts fighting against it. Speaks of small government, and then when he's president, he expands presidential power. Now, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter during the first term of his presidency to a Baptist church. The Baptist church wrote to President Jefferson to ask him whether they would be persecuted against, what the state's role would be in church regards, because the Baptists had been persecuted in England, and they had evaded persecution coming to America, and so they were concerned about this. The phrase separation of church and state is found nowhere in the Constitution, nowhere in the Declaration, nowhere in the Articles of Confederation, nowhere in the Bill of Rights. It's nowhere. It's in this one place, one time. And Jefferson writes back to the Baptist church, and he says that, well, no, we're not going to be persecuting against you. We're not going to be doing anything to you to stop you from worship, because ultimately we have separation of church and state. And he goes on to explain what he means. He means that the state will not get involved in the matters of the church. The portion saying that Congress will make no law respecting the establishment of a religion. What it's saying is that they're not going to give you an established denomination. There will be no one American church like there is one English church or one French church or Spanish church, etc. And so the phrase separation of church and state simply means that the state wouldn't get involved in the matters of the church. But he encouraged the church and the members of the church to get involved in matters of the state.
That was beautifully said, much better than I could have ever done, but exactly, and that now is used as such a club to get rid of the Ten Commandments in the courts and get rid of any religious signs in schools and all of that. So I think it's worth mentioning that that is important, that people can understand the difference and what it was actually supposed to mean instead of the club that it's used nowadays. Looks like we do have a couple.
Can I say that one more thing? Yeah, and also too, if you truly believe in the 1950s, 1960s era obsession of striking down religious laws in the United States and getting the Bible out of schools, getting prayer out of schools because it's a violation of freedom of religion purportedly, then why did the First Congress of the United States authorize the production of thousands of Bibles to put in every single classroom? That is the edict from Congress. That is the order from Congress. We are printing these Bibles. You're going to put them in schools. You're going to teach the children to read using the Bible. And that comes from the Puritans. The Puritans were big on education. Why were they big on education? Because you couldn't get saved if you couldn't read the Bible. And so you had to be able to read and understand the Bible. That's why there was such an emphasis on education. And so the founders say, well, and this First Congress says, well, what better book to use to teach these children to read? Far from being, a violation of freedom of religion, it was, in fact, put in these schools. And if you truly believe that freedom of religion means freedom to believe and do whatever you want in regards of you can be a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Jew, this, that, whatever, the other thing, then you really have to contradict the Founding Fathers. You have to believe in a loose interpretation of the Constitution, or the Constitution can just mean whatever I want it to mean, which is simply just not what it's intended to do.
Absolutely. I want to add one thing, and then we'll go ahead and answer a couple questions here in the chat. First of all, for all my people that normally stick with me on this live stream, it's going to be a little longer tonight, so instead of the 9 o'clock cutoff, it's going to go till 9:30. Please stick around until the end, because we are going to quiz the Federalist himself, Mr. Isaiah Lafone, on a few of the founders and some of their quotes. So it's going to be really fun, but please stick around with us until the end. If you do have your questions, I know a few of you have already posted it here in the chat, but please continue to put them in. We'll answer as we go along. We have a few other topics that we want to hit today, so be sure to stick around. But the first one, Mr. Isaiah, this one's for you. How do we get to 100% Christian nation? How do we get to 100% Christian nation?
Yeah, so that's going to be partially through evangelism, making people Christians. Ultimately, we have to sell our vision to the public. I think that that's going to be easier than we actually think, because Gen Z is becoming so religious. The religiosity of Gen Z is through the roof. More and more young men specifically are coming back to church, and the young women seem to be soon following suit. Slower than the men, most certainly slower, and that's why we're seeing such a collapse in the dating scene, because young men and the values of young men and young women are so different from each other. Many people just aren't dating, aren't getting married because, they don't want to be with someone who's ideologically, so ideologically different from them. So I think that it's going to come with time. I don't think that we're going to see the fruition and the fruits of our labor. I think that'll probably be our children and grandchildren that are able to see that. But ultimately, we must plant the tree now. But I think we're going to have much greater success than we think, and I think that's because of the Christian bent and the conservative bent of Gen Z.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. And then we have another question here. Is a female wearing modest clothing, not a Muslim, a good sign that they might be Christian? Any thoughts on that one?
Well, at this day and age, absolutely, because if she is intentionally being modest over and over and over, like every day you see her and you're like, man, she's dressed wonderfully, then most likely, yeah, because in our current day and age, it is trendy for, women to dress like, whores, and so if she's intentionally not doing that, there's a good chance she's a Christian woman. But go up to her and ask her, Gravemind, have you finally found a woman? That's wonderful for you.
There you go. And then I guess this one's for me here before we move on. This is my first show of yours, Mr. Martin. Well, welcome on. We do this show 3 times a week. We have our Monday live stream, which you are a part of right now. We have our Wednesday, where I sit down with a special guest and we have an interview. And then we have our Friday, where it's just solo, and I get recap over the week what occurred, and then I also give some other political commentary on some of the hot issues. The last one I did on Friday was Blackstone and BlackRock, understanding the difference and how much of a monopoly that the BlackRock has created here, or excuse me, Blackstone. No, BlackRock. I said it right. And then Blackstone. Yep, he's got me. What should I expect from your show, or why should I subscribe? Well, first of all, you should expect some Christian conservative commentary, kind of like what you're seeing right now, and you should subscribe if you share those same values. Obviously, I don't agree with everything that the conservatives and Republicans do, and I definitely don't agree with everything the liberals and Democrats do. But I think that this is a great show for people who want to learn more and realize what it is to have a Christian conservative country again. And yeah, I think that's just my quick little 90-second spiel on that. But I do want to go ahead and move on. You're the best. I appreciate you. But I do want to go ahead and move on to abortion. Obviously, I was able to go to the March for Life this past weekend, 2 weekends ago now. And obviously, it was a great experience. I wish you were there, but I know you're busy in college and living it up there in college. Yes, you'll be there next year. We'll all be there next year. We'll have a whole Martin Media team up there. But what are your thoughts on abortion? And then when you finish that, obviously, we'll dive into a little more. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously abortion is murder, and murder completely, and I can make that argument. I make that argument with Scripture, because ultimately I think that's the only way that we're going to win, is making the argument with Scripture, doing it God's way. But ultimately, you can make it biologically as well. I mean, it's just objective science that life begins at conception. So what do I think on abortion? I think it should be abolished, preferably by constitutional amendment, the same way slavery was. Abortion is the slavery issue of our day. It is just a black and white matter of what constitutes a human life, what constitutes a person.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've been very vocal on my experience, how originally I was pro-choice, and then the more I read and did research on what they do and how these abortion trials are so evil, and I mean, I can't even describe it. What's truly done. I mean, you take a clamp with some teeth on it and you rip a baby limb by limb, and you don't say that's murder or not. Yeah, it's just unreal. And I think you are right. I think this is our social justice issue, our slavery issue of our day and age. And I really do believe that Generation Z is going to abolish abortion, and I think they should.
Absolutely.
What do you say about the people? Well, what about ectopic pregnancies? Because that's always one that's going to be clubbed around and to try to show weakness. What do you say about that? Because go ahead.
Are you talking about, define what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the ectopic pregnancy, how they're in like the fallopian tube, and they basically need to end the pregnancy, so for the life of the mother, which has now kind of been proven false. But
yeah, no, there's other ways to do that. This is literally stupid. It's a stupid example. They'll go to life of the mother, rape, incest. They'll always go to the 1% of cases of abortion, when 99% of abortions are just the woman just doesn't want to take care of the infant, and so she's just going to get rid of it. It's an inconvenience to her. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, if I get married, Lord willing, and I have a child, a 3-year-old child, let's say he's 3 years old, maybe that child is inconvenient for me. Maybe, I'm someone who, God forbid, I want to go to the bar and drink, and I don't want to have to, put him to bed and read him a story good night. What's stopping me under this logic from ending that life? Because he's dependent on me. He's inconvenient for me. When does it become a life? Oh, well, when it gets born. Okay, nothing special happens at the time of birth that makes someone a human or not human. The special thing that happens is at the moment of conception. There's even a spark given off at the moment of conception. A new life has been formed. Rape and incest, okay, if we want to go to rape specifically. Okay, who is the perpetrator in the case of rape? Who is at fault? Well, whoever raped the woman. Okay, obviously he's at fault. He should be castrated, probably hung from a tree. But the baby is not at fault. The baby didn't do anything wrong. I know people who were, conceived out of a rape situation, and they very much struggle with that. But there's nothing that they've done wrong. You do not you do not right a wrong with another wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. You do not get to take the life of the infant simply because of the man who, did something to you. I had someone very close to me who used to argue for an exception to rape. And they would say, well, what if, every time you look at the child, you'll see the rapist in their eyes. Are you kidding me? This is how we view God's little children? We view them, I look at my child and I say, gosh, I hate you because you look like my rapist. What the flip? We can't give the child up for adoption because, they'll come back and they'll find you, and then you have to live the story all over again. Are we really that selfish as society that we will deprive a child of life simply because it's inconvenient for me when the child comes looking for his biological mother because I'll have to relive my trauma? Goodness gracious, girl, get a therapist. I don't mean to sound heartless, but these are just stupid reasons to justify any human life. And ultimately, rape is an awful thing, and it has terrible effects upon a woman, and it's awful. It's awful. But that still does not justify you committing murder.
Yeah, and there's several points that I do want to add onto that because, first of all, and Charlie Kirk was excellent with this point. He said, you take an ultrasound of a rape baby and a baby conceived out of love. Well, can you tell the difference? No, you can't. Exactly. So that's point number one, that people don't, they just want to throw that out of the window, and to them that doesn't fit their narrative. And the other point is most people who do go through the pregnancy and have their rape baby, which is a terrible term that they need to get rid of in itself, but they end up loving that child, and they always say, like, pretty much every single woman that I've met has always said that they are so glad that they did not go through with that other option. On that same topic of abortion, you and I share the similar belief. I believe that we need to step up, especially in the church community, because it's one thing, I know a lot of people go outside of the Planned Parenthoods, and I've said this point many times. People go outside of the Planned Parenthoods and they pray like they should. That's a great thing to do, and prayer does miracles. But also, if you are a part of a church community, especially these mega churches who are just raking in the money, raking in the money, why are you not offering programs to these people where they don't feel like they have an option, where that's the difference between them carrying the life to term or aborting it right there is because they don't feel like they have the option. They don't feel like they have daycare. They don't feel like they have money to buy diapers, whether they're a single parent or a new family who has very little income. That's where the church, in my mind, needs to step up. And we lost a lot of that community and a lot of those programs after COVID and the terrible things that the Biden administration had done. I think we need to have a resurgence of community back within our church, which we're starting to see, and Gen Z is pushing that. And then we also need to see more people taking advantage of these programs and the churches taking and pushing out these programs. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think the church has taken a step away from that sort of thing. I think that the church has kind of run. The church has accepted the culture's push to make it run and hide, and keep your religion in the corner, but don't do anything else. Christ calls us to be the hands and feet of the world, and that includes helping these poor mothers. And I think that the church can do a lot more than she is doing now.
Yeah. What would you say on the same note, because of all of the terrible Biden policies and what they did to Christians specifically, how they persecuted them for assembling and going to church? What are your thoughts on that, and where do you think the Biden administration really failed on that front? I know you could probably take that from 20 different angles. I'm just curious if you have a perspective on their failures as far as addressing the church community and how we lost church community after COVID.
I'm gonna need just a better explanation of what exactly you want me to get into, because there's so many different things I can get
No,
into.
yeah, I said it. There's a better way to say that for sure. But what would you? How would you? Let me see if I can phrase this even better for my mind. As far as the church, where do you feel like we can do better as far as the sense of community? Where do you think we can step up after the Biden administration basically stripped the community out of church? What do you think young Christians, and I mean Christians all alike, can do better to get a sense of community back?
Yeah, the best thing I can say to do is events. Do events with your church. You know, have meals with different families. Go to people's houses. Um, do different events and those sort. That is one of the best ways that I know to grow a sense of community. Stay after church. Don't just go to church and then leave. You know, say, all right, I've done my daily church. Now I'm going to go. No, 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 no. Stay around. Stick around. Talk to people. Have conversations. You know, one conversation, one friendship built can grow into 3, 4, 5, 6, and beyond. So I would say events, talking to people after church, having these conversations, going up to people, inviting people to different things, ultimately would be great. And you know, doing things like praying outside of abortion clinics, that should bring the church community together. That'll bring people out. So things of that nature, I think you can do to help your church community.
Yeah, and one thing that you hit on on your last episode is how you said after church you would host like a little picnic or a little barbecue, a
Absolutely.
little cookout, and I think more people should take advantage of that. Too many people treat Christianity like a checkoff list. So they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I went to church. I listened to my hour sermon. Praise God, hallelujah." Then they get back in the car, and 10 minutes down the road, they're flipping people off and driving recklessly. So
Yeah.
I think there needs to be better things, and to not just check the box off. Participate
Christianity isn't
in
just something we do on a Sunday morning. Christianity is a lifestyle.
Amen. I'm glad you said that because that is a great point that most people end up missing here. We're going to take a second to answer a few questions in the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them on there until we move to our next segment. It appears we have a few people spamming it. It looks like he ended up leaving here, but he's saying to make sure you take some shorts and clips and put it on your channel.
Yeah, I got to do that.
And then Lutheran supremacy. What's your thoughts on that?
Lutheran supremacy, I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Are you kidding me? You people, listen, Lutherans, I love you guys. Y'all should do more for America instead of hiding in your little, churches in the Midwest, speaking German to each other. Get more
Wow.
involved, like the Presbyterians and Episcopalians.
Hey now, it's not all about that, okay? I grew up in a Lutheran church. We had some wonderful times, so don't be hating. And it's not all
Absolutely,
German.
absolutely. What the thing with Lutherans too is they've not had a huge impact on American society, American culture at large because they are not naturally English speaking, and they tend to go into the Midwestern towns and whatnot and stuff. They haven't had a huge impact, and that's why there's not too many Lutherans in the United States or in United States politics and things of that nature.
And it wasn't all Germans, mind you. It may have been 90%, but not all
I know,
Germans
I
were
know.
Lutheran. I'm just messing with you. Here's an actual good one. Should we call out certain people on the Christian right, or should we keep focus on getting rid of liberalism? Mm.
So absolutely, there are people who need, calling out. Obviously, the people who are quote unquote race pilled, who think that certain races of people have an inherent bent towards one way or the other. That's not true. Ultimately, I think certain cultures have an inherent, because of the culture itself has an inherent bent one way or the other. But you even look at like white people, for instance. They say white people are naturally just greater than everybody else. Really, what were white people doing before Christianity showed up? What was pagan Europe doing? They were living in huts. They were uncivilized people until Christianity came. Christianity is what made European culture so great. It wasn't the white man himself. It was just happened that Christianity, in the will of God, Christianity was brought to European countries, to European people, and became a part of the culture. And really, I don't want to say infected the culture, not infected in a bad way, but infiltrated the culture would be a good way to put it, and made everything better. We went from building huts to building castles and cathedrals. So we need to call out the people on the right who believe that race is a determining factor in who you are as a person and individual. And but ultimately, I think we do need to focus most of our arrows on the left. There are people, I'm thinking of specifically like Eli McGowan, who spends his time on X going after people on the right for no reason at all. Thinks J.D. Vance is too far to the right. He's definitely got his priorities out of place.
Do we have any promising individuals that we can put into politics as of now, in your opinion? Or is everyone compromised?
Everyone's compromised. Like everyone who's out there now. I think maybe like Thomas Massey. I haven't seen anything on him, but he's about the only one. Everyone in current day is compromised.
Fair enough, right there. You have the straight up truth from Mr. Lafone. All right, I do want to talk about another one that we sparred over last time. Not really sparred, just a little disagreement, and that is the LGBTQ movement within the rights. I want to hear your thoughts and go ahead and tell the audience on what you believe and does the LGBTQ community belong within the conservative right?
Well, there's no such thing as a conservative gay person. There's no such thing as a conservative lesbian or bisexual or transgender or queer person. And so, no, they have no place on the right. The right, specifically, has traditionally been a Christian movement and should stay a Christian movement, because if you don't have Christianity, God's not going to bless your movement. And if you don't have a Christian society, God's not going to bless your society. So ultimately, I don't think that the right should be tolerant of people within their ranks, not necessarily like just your average Tom, Dick, and Harry. If a gay person knows what we believe and still wants to vote for the conservative ticket, then they're most assuredly welcome to. Absolutely, I'm not going to tell them no, but they're going to know what we think. But I'm talking about people like Becky Weiss and and these bigger figures, the people who are held up as these conservative gay people that, oh my gosh, it's great. Like, no, that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. We are compromising and we are tolerating sin. And and ultimately, you can win as many elections as you possibly can. You can introduce as much policy, economic policy, as you possibly can. But if you don't have morality, you lose the very foundation of civilization itself. And so your society is doomed to collapse still if you do not have a moral code, a moral standard. Libertarian, utilitarian morality is no morality at all. In fact, there are some things that don't, quote-unquote, directly harm me that are bad for society. Like homosexuality, for instance, is just bad for society. It's bad for civilization. And so ultimately, I do not think that any person like Becky Weiss, oh my word, I didn't know that Becky Weiss got to rewrite the eternal decree of the Lord God Almighty. So ultimately, no, I don't believe that any LGBTQ person should have a prominent role in the conservative movement and the direction of that movement, Aaron.
So I think what you're saying, to maybe better clarify for the audience, is not play the left stupid games of identity politics. Stop propping these people up. Stop basically saying that their opinions are relevant. Maybe there's probably a better term for that. But if they still want to vote alongside the Republican ticket, the conservative ticket, then they can. It's not like we're going to stop them. But they just have to understand that we're not going to be sugarcoating things, and we're not going to essentially cater to their identity politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They can vote for us, but we're not going to be propping people up simply because they're gay, as we are doing right now in the conservative movement. That's why Dan Bongino was like, all these people, they want to hijack my conservative movement. This is my conservative. Dude, first of all, this movement isn't conservative if it can't conserve anything. They've conserved nothing. They've compromised on abortion. They've compromised on homosexuality. Pretty much they've compromised on feminism. Now we have conservative girl bosses. What the flip are we even doing? And even in I'm thinking of people like, the teen conservative girl, Allie, Danny, all these different people on Instagram, these conservative girl bosses. They have no business.
Solia.
Yes, so they have no business in the conservative movement. We've compromised on everything. So if Dan Bongino's conservative movement is a movement that constantly caters to the left, loses, and tries to outflank the Democratic Party and conserves nothing while throwing away our future, throwing away our civilization, handing it over to third worlders, handing it over to degenerates, then I want nothing to do with your conservative movement, and we'll do something else. Thank you.
You've called out Dan Bongino quite a bit. You had a whole episode dedicated. Go ahead and tell the audience why you believe Dan Bongino is a fool, in your words.
Because he's an absolute idiot. He spent years on his stupid little show talking about, it's a conspiracy. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. The FBI is, the deep state is real. We're going to go in there. We're going to bust up the deep state. He was given the opportunity to, him and Kash Patel. Kash Patel's the director of the FBI. Dan Bongino was the deputy director. He was given the opportunity to go in there and make change, get stuff done, and he did nothing. We have no arrest. Hillary Clinton is not thrown in prison. All these people who are members of the deep state are still out there roaming around. Nothing has happened, and that's simply because ultimately I believe that Dan Bongino is compromised. I believe that somebody has information on him. He played into the cover-up of the Epstein files, so that they weren't real. He said that Epstein, after years saying Epstein didn't kill himself, suddenly both him and Patel are saying that Epstein killed himself. It seems to me it seems to me that ultimately Bongino is all talk and no action. And now he's coming back and he's talking about how much he missed this while he's going on X, retweeting Mark Levin, attacking actual conservatives, and talking about how useless we are and how we're idiots and black pillars and this and that and the other thing. And it's stupid. It's stupid. And like I said, if your conservative movement is this, then I want nothing to do with it. I want no part of it because I don't want to lose honorably. I want to win. I want to win. And if we don't govern like the Democrats do with, being cutthroat, shoving our agenda down the throats of the other side, then we're not going to win. We're going to have to play by the other side's rule. I wouldn't normally want to govern like this. But as Robert E. Lee said, patriotism sometimes requires me to do things, today that I wouldn't have done yesterday and I wouldn't do tomorrow. And we're at that point in time. Dan Bongino and these other weak conservatives just do not understand that. He had the opportunity to make change, and he did nothing with it. We don't hand out participation trophies on the right. He failed. He's a failure. He needs to get out of the way, tell us what he knows, but then get out of the way, and we'll hand the position over to somebody who will fight for the American people.
On that same note, and last question on him, because I know you could talk hours about the failed Dan Bongino in your words. What do you say? Because Ben Shapiro's used this line. This is the perfect line to say. He said maybe he had a change of heart, right? Maybe he came in and he actually had reviewed the evidence and determined that he did not kill himself, that he did kill himself. What would you say to that token? Because that's a line that's used and parroted by the right.
Yeah, so ultimately, I don't give a flip what Ben Shapiro said. Ben Shapiro told us for a long time that there were no Epstein files because you see, I have people in the government and they're telling me that there are no Epstein files, and so it's just child porn. Don't look into it. It's just terrible. There's no Epstein files, and there are Epstein files. So Ben Shapiro either A, he had sources who were lying to him, or B, Ben Shapiro purposefully lied to the conservative, to the right, and to his listeners in order to try to manipulate the opinion on the right. I think I'm going to go with the latter, considering other things that Ben Shapiro has done and other things that he has just gotten wrong. And so I think that is a sorry excuse. I think that from the evidence that we have, it's very clear that Epstein most probably did not kill himself. And I think that it is not a change of heart. I think it's ultimately cowardice on Dan Bongino's part. Let me tell you what I believe happened. I believe somebody came to Bongino either with incriminating evidence or said, look, we know where your wife and children are. And listen, here's what's going to happen. You are going to not say a word. You can keep your job, and then afterwards you can go on back to your little podcast, and we won't bother you. But if you do try to come after us, we will be killing your wife and children. And we'll be doing this to you or that to you, or we will release, whatever we have on you. That seems more likely to me than, he just had a change of heart. Really? Because Kash Patel was in the FBI. He had looked on the information, and he assured us that Epstein did not kill himself, and then suddenly we have a change of heart. I think that it's most certainly blackmail or a threat on his life.
Fair enough. You do have a comment here, and it says, define girl boss.
Define girl boss. Girl boss is kind of like something I'm throwing around, but I would say we have propped up these women as speakers and, people who define the conservative movement, people like, Ali, Solia, Danny, Lily Farrow, all these people. I'm thinking of all these different people. And then like more prominent voices on the right, like, what's her name? Sarah Gonzalez, I'm thinking of. She's like this like badass girl boss who like has her guns and she does her show on the Blaze and all this stuff. That sort of thing has taken over the conservative movement. We've taught in the conservative movement, they're teaching young men to be traditional 1950s era kind of young traditional men, but they're teaching the women to be feminist. Sarah Gonzalez, girl bosses who shoot guns and they can put men in their place. Yeah, no, that's why the dating scene is so bad, because men do want a traditional wife. Men do want a traditional life, and they want to be traditional men, but I'm going to be a 1950s man. Don't give me a 1960s hippie woman. I don't want that, actually. Actually, if you want... And I think what's going on the right is I think a lot of these women are being as feminist as humanly possible, as feminist as they can get away with while still getting a traditional man and being quote-unquote conservative. But ultimately, these people are just liberals from the 1970s.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and change the topic here, and that is the Kalshi poll. I don't know if you're familiar with Kalshi, but apparently you can
I am.
bet on anything, and I don't condone it. I
Yeah.
probably will never do
Well,
that
my
just because it's
denomination
stupid.
forbids me from betting, so I will
Well,
not.
there you
gamble.
go. There you go. Shoot, that was another question. No, I'm just kidding. But as far as this Kalshi poll, it shows that Kristi Noem is the betting favorite to be the first one, yeah, fired from Donald Trump and the cabinet. Do you believe that she's the front runner right now to get replaced? And if not, who do you believe will be?
Absolutely not. Pam Bondi will be fired first because of her mishandling of the Epstein files and her lies, lying to us, telling the American people that there is no Epstein files when there was.
Fair enough. You don't think that Pam Bondi is going to stay because of her role now and probably covering up the files as you've kind of echoed in the past? You don't think that maybe she has more of a role and maybe she's going to almost be into the swamp now and then there's no return? She'll forever kind of be in that role?
Uh, I mean, maybe she has secured her spot in the swamp and she'll be staying in that role. But I think if anyone is going to be fired first, I think it would be Bondi. Maybe
Yeah.
he fires Nome because he gives into the pressure coming from the left and coming from the agitators in the streets of Minneapolis. But I think that'd be stupid and foolish. And if he does that, then ultimately this Trump administration is officially and positively a failure because he's giving in to the demands of radical leftists who did not win the election, but who caused themselves to get shot a couple times. And so now we have to have a sob story over it. Even though these same people didn't care when Laken Riley was killed by an illegal immigrant, when Jocelyn Nungary was raped and murdered by Venezuelan animals who came across the border. So ultimately, I think that Bondi, if anybody's going to be the first to go, she's the only one in the cabinet at AmFest at least that got a negative approval. Well, not a negative, but her disapproval was in the double digits, and most Americans absolutely abhor her.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I'm really leaning towards the latter. I think Kristi Noem is going to be the person that gets axed first. And I think she would be replaced by Tom Homan since Tom Homan doesn't have an official secretary role. So I think that would be the only
That
case
or
in
Stephen
which
Miller,
Christie-
and if Stephen Miller's the
Yeah,
one that
that's
gets
the
put
two.
in, like dude, all the agitators are getting thrown in prison. Stephen
Oh, yeah.
Miller is not like Christian. Stephen Miller will throw everyone in prison. I do believe.
Oh yeah, by far. Stephen Miller is a known nonsensical guy. So I do want to go on to that note as far as ICE and immigration. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Obviously, there's been a lot of flack that's come out of Minnesota on both sides with the whole Renee Good shooting as well as the whole Alex Preddy. I want to hear your thoughts. We'll start with the Renee Good. I know you've covered that one quite a bit, and then we'll transfer over to Alex Preddy and then the overall entire scheme that's happening in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts on the Renee Good shooting.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I've covered this on my channel. What I can basically say about it is her car, she hit an agent. The agent shot her. I don't know what else there is there, really. I don't know why she's been turned into a martyr. She used her car as a deadly weapon, and she hit him. And the officer has suffered internal bleeding now, and he shot her. You can say, oh, he should have shot her tires out. Okay, idiot. It's not like in the movies. They don't just explode. No, he's trained as an officer. He had been on the force since 2016. He had just been dragged literally over the summer by an illegal alien and had sustained many injuries. If she's using her car as a deadly weapon, he is licensed to use deadly force in reaction. And he did, and she died. And ultimately, her death was the responsibility of her own actions. And it's a tragic situation, by the way. It shouldn't have happened. But the blood ultimately lies at the Democratic politicians who have incited these people to come out and protest and have called, ICE the Gestapo and everything. And it's ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, and then moving forward to Alex Preddy, that one to me, that one's a little more blurred. Obviously, it's a terrible situation what occurred, and again, it's these Democrat dunderheads, as I like to call them, in office who incite this violence, who use their
Yep.
violent rhetoric, calling them Gestapo, like you mentioned, saying to fight and take to the streets, saying that they're part of a slavery scheme now, like Jasmine Crockett echoed in Texas, of all places.
Which, by the way, is like straight up disrespectful to the people who actually endured slavery.
Right, 100%, and she gets to reap the benefit of what had happened, which is insane. But yeah, anyways, as far as Alex Preddy goes, I do want to hear your thoughts on that one. That one's a little more controversial, you could argue. Still a tragedy nonetheless, and obviously It's not like he was. Everyone kept saying he was this ICU nurse who did amazing work in the community, and then more and more video surveillance is showing that he was a repeat offender. He came out there, damaged a car of the ICE agents by smashing in one of the taillights and kicking it and spitting on them. So he's not this peaceful guy, a peaceful ICU nurse, as they like to paint out, but nonetheless a tragedy. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so ultimately, I think the Preddy situation is harder to justify. He did bring a loaded weapon. He had done this several times. He wanted them to come get him. He wanted to be, a martyr. It's very clear he had that, complex. These people have a martyr's complex. I saw a picture the other day. They were like, someone literally held up a sign in the Minneapolis streets, like, this is what the show Andor is about. Like, okay, bro, grow up. Andor, dude, what is this? This isn't Star Wars, you moron. Like, these people genuinely believe that, like, this is like the freaking resistance in heckin' Star Wars, man. Like, they think that they're like these plucky rebels fighting an evil empire. You just look stupid and you're foolish. These people, these Disney adults who are going out there doing this. So he obviously wanted to be a martyr. He had this weird complex where he thought he was like some rebel fighting against in the resistance against the evil empire. Obviously, it's a tragedy. Don't think it was justified. At this point in time, I don't. From the evidence I have, I don't think it was justified. They had already taken the gun away from him, and then he was shot. And so it's a terrible tragedy. That ICE agent, I think it just looks like sloppy police work to me, and it's a terrible thing. He didn't need to get shot.
I would agree, and I cannot stand these people on both sides of the aisle. Our side does it just as much as the left, who, first of all, they're praising the ICE agent, saying he did amazing, and that Alex Preddy was a scumbag and deserved it, which is completely wrong. And then the left side, who is praising Alex Preddy, saying he was an ICU nurse hero, and he was doing the right thing, and he was doing justice. Two things can't be true at once. It was a tragedy that happened. It's because of the Democrats' rhetoric, and also that ICE agent probably needed better training, or at least there needs to be an investigation where he probably will get some sort of
You get thrown in
against
prison,
him.
and at
Yeah.
this point, if the evidence stands how it is, as he should.
Yeah, 100%. I think overall, I'm very happy with the ICE operations that have been conducted. I'd say 99.999% of them have been successful and have been good. And again, in Texas, where 20% of the deportations that have taken place in the U.S. occurred, what do you see? You don't see any riots. You don't see really any protests. I'm sure there's the 10 protesters on one street, and that's about the most you get in Texas. But then in Minnesota, where 2.2% of the deportations are taking place, then it's a huge uprising, and it's because, again, of terrible leadership like Jacob Fry and Tim Walz, among other prominent Democrats who keep pandering to their base by calling them Gestapo and Hitler and all these terrible words. Words have consequences nonetheless.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we do have two questions here, and then we'll go ahead and move on to another thing. The first one, so a female who is not reliant on a man is a girl boss is a negative in a negative context.
Yeah, so it's literally the same as just the feminist mindset of the 1960s and 70s. If I don't need no man and I can do everything a man did and does and everything and all that. Actually, I'm sorry, but you can't do everything a man can, just as a man can't do everything a woman can. I can't give birth, and thank God that I can't. Good grief. Men get man colds, dude. You think we would be able to survive labor? Absolutely freaking not. But anywho. Yeah, no. So it's just the same like feminist like mindset of I don't need no man and this and that and whatever. And listen, ultimately females are going to be reliant on men because that's in their nature and how they were designed by God to be. And ultimately men are leaders because that is how we were designed by God to be.
Amen. Then the next one, thoughts on revolutionary patriot Reverend John Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg.
I don't know much about him. Might be familiar with him, but that I don't know much about him. So you have found something about revolutionary American history that I don't know that much about, but I think he sounds familiar.
Yeah, same here. I don't think I remember seeing his entire name played out. I think I remember seeing John Muhlenberg, but that's about it. But that's, I guess, more research to add on it. You mentioned Lex Rex and how that's one of your guiding principles and favorite books.
The Lost King, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to tell the audience on why you believe in that book and why you recommend that they read it?
Well, ultimately, it gives you a good Christian politic. It explains politics from a Christian perspective, like only Samuel Rutherford. Rutherford was a Presbyterian theologian, one of the Westminster Divines. He's writing in defiance of King Charles I. Charles and his father James and the Stuarts, who, by the way, I'm related to, so I'm kind of like a family traitor or something. But Charles I believed in the divine right of kings, which meant that he was ordained by God to rule this country, and you couldn't really stand against him because, then you were standing against God. And so Samuel Rutherford is standing firmly against that, is introducing a new principle, lex rex. The law is king, and the king himself, King Charles I, Charles II, no matter who he is still not above the law, specifically above God's law. He is still under the authority of the law. And Charles I was executed for treason against the English people, which he was guilty of, very much so. He did violate the law. He shut down Parliament several times because Parliament wouldn't give him the money that he wanted to exercise his power and authority, and he engaged in all these different wars and stuff and ended up bankrupting the country. And then he had to call Parliament back, and then when he did, Parliament tried to punish him, and it started the Civil War because Charles I was defiant. So ultimately, I believe in the book. I recommend the book because I believe firmly in the principle of lex rex. I believe that the law is king and that no man is above the law, specifically God's law. And I think that human law should be most assuredly informed and built upon and predicated upon the law of God, which is eternal and long-lasting.
Amen. Before we dive into our 10 questions to see how good you know the founders and their quotes, just one last question for you, and that is if you had any advice to give our generation or even the millennials on how we can kind of reclaim America or how we can get it back to what it is fundamentally supposed to be, what would you tell them? How can we achieve that goal? And yeah, your words.
Start speaking, start acting, do something. Start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, do something, start speaking, do some activism. Get involved in Republican Party politics. Ultimately, I believe in the reformation of the Republican Party. If the Democrats offer us a better deal, if the Democrats say, we'll move to your position, then I'm more than willing to switch over there. I have no real allegiance to, firm allegiance to either party. It's just whichever party is closest to my beliefs. So at this point in time, it's going to be the Republican Party, even though they're not all that conservative. They're still like Democrats 20 years ago. Get involved. They're handing out positions like free candy. I showed up to my county Republican Party meeting. The first thing I was offered was a position as a delegate to the state convention over the summer, because why not? I'm just they hand this stuff out. So go get involved, run for party political positions, get our ideology, get our people into those positions of power, and eventually I think we can reform the Republican Party. And then if the Democratic Party gives us a better deal, do that in the Democratic Party. It just depends on who's willing to work with us. But also to read like your life depends on it. You must read, and read some more. You have never read enough. Continue to educate yourself. Okay? Continue to educate yourself. Go to school. Go to a good college that's going to teach you correctly. But also, I've actually learned more through research and study on my own than going to college. So, but read, research, learn more, and write. Write articles. Hone your talent. Hone your skill. Our country is not going to be saved by ideologues and bombastic personalities, even though I'm a bit of a bombastic personality myself. But our country is going to be saved by statesmen, not by these people like Fuentes who are just rage baiting people all the time. Not by children. Children are not going to defeat children. Our country is going to be saved by statesmen, by people who try their best to emulate people like George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Andrew Jackson. I could keep on going. Those are the people those educated statesmen-like people are going to be the people who will save our nation, because ultimately they will make the best case. So if you want to be part of that movement, you want to be part of the statesman movement, read, and become educated, and hone your talent for speaking and writing.
Amen. Well said. And we have one more question for you on the channel before we dive into this. I'll let you go first, but do you have any advice for someone trying to start their own show?
Yeah, so ultimately we live in a day and age where people can get, big by just recording themselves on your phone. Start with that, but ultimately try to move up to getting to, like I've got just this 4K web camera. It ain't that much money in regards to what people usually spend thousands. This whole setup, maybe cost me like $200 altogether. This was the most expensive thing. This is about 130. This actually it's probably like maybe 300, but the camera's $80. Actually, I think it's $70 now. I think there's a sale on it. These lights each were $20. Actually coming in a package together. So, I think ultimately, be willing to spend just a little bit of money like I have. It's a good amount of cash, but it's not. You don't need the $1,000 studio that people often say that you need at first. So become well researched. When you come up with a topic you want to talk about, research it, and figure out what you're going to say. Because as you just saw a second ago, I took a minute to think about what I wanted to say. But research your topic well. Think about what you're going to say beforehand. Write some notes. I would say I wouldn't suggest that you come up with a monologue, and just read off the screen like Fox News or something like that. But just give your honest opinions on things. So that's the best and ultimately pray that God stays in the center of it all, and you will have success.
I'm going to pretty much parrot everything that Isaiah had just said there. Mr. LaFone hit on all of the correct points. And another thing, please, please, please do not be like majority of the Gen Z. I shouldn't say majority, but a good chunk of the Gen Z generation who sees a quick headline, does a minute of research, and then puts their own opinion and perspective on it, because that is annoying. Me and Isaiah crafted a very good term for those people. They're called parrot conservatives or parrot Republicans. Do not be like those individuals. Actually take your time, do the research, dive into what you are going to go over, and have a well-rounded analysis. Don't also just flock right away to what the GOP and the Republican position is. Look at all perspectives, create a good, solid opinion surrounded by data from all sides, and that is how you are going to prepare and present the best answer forward. So please make sure to do that and not just be a typical parrot person. Isaiah hit on reading. Be sure to read, do a lot of research. Reading is so fundamental, and it's a lost art in our generation. AI can be useful, but don't rely your entire platform off AI. And yeah, just have fun more than anything. It's a lot. It's very demanding. These videos that you see, there's a lot more preparation that goes in behind the scenes than just giving you a monologue or just giving you whatever our opinions are. You actually do have to do a lot of analysis and research behind it. So it does take a lot of time. Expect that it's almost going to be a part-time, full-time job depending on how serious you go with it. It's not just hopping on in an hour and presenting something. So yeah. That would be my best advice for you. All right, Isaiah, the time has come. Are you ready?
I'm ready. All
right. So I made a list. Well, I shouldn't take all the credit. Grok actually helped me with this list for this time.
He says, don't use AI.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't say, I said it can be useful at times. Just don't rely your entire base off of it. So we went 90% of this entire episode unscripted. This is my time where I get to have a little bit of a script. All right. So cut me some grace there, Mr. LaFone. But basically, I'm going to read off quotes that the founder said, and he's going to try to guess which founder ended up saying this quote. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to start easy, and we're going to get relatively harder. After that, we'll probably have about 5 to 10 minutes left to answer some questions from you all, and then Mr. LaFone has to head out of here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So the first one being, ready, Isaiah? Here we go.
Yeah.
Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Benjamin Franklin.
You hit it. 1755, Mr. Benjamin Franklin. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.
Shoot, I know who I know it. Is it Patrick Henry?
It is not.
It's not Patrick Henry.
Give you another guess.
Who would have said that? It was one of the what'd you say?
It's one of your favorite founders.
Is it? It's not John Jay, is it?
Nope.
No, it's not Jay. I didn't think it would be Jay. Shoot, man. Samuel Adams?
Nope. I'll go ahead and tell it. Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking of some of my favorite ones. You can't say, oh, it's one of your favoriite.
Yeah, well,
ones.
I did the quotes.
All right. I
Yeah,
was thinking.
I'll-
I was going through the list of my favorites because I've heard
No,
the
no,
quote
no.
before. Yeah, it's Jefferson. I've heard the quote before, but it's just on the tip of my tongue. I immediately went to Patrick Henry because if anything is bombastic, it was probably Patrick Henry who said it.
All right, next one here. Associate yourself with men of good quality. If you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company.
George Washington.
That is correct. That was in the Rules of Civility Influence, which the book should be here tomorrow or the next day for me.
And
I'm
he
excited
wrote
to
that.
read it.
He started writing that when he was 14.
Yes, fun fact. I love that. I just read up on that actually. Three may keep. Oh, actually, I already asked you that earlier. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Think lawyer.
John Adams.
Yes, sir. Boston Massacre Trial, 1770. Thanks be to God that he gave me stubbornness when I know I am right.
Is it? Dude, that's a great quote. I need to use that. Trying to think of who would have said something like it. Samuel Adams.
Nope. Wrong Adams.
John Adams.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He sure did.
Bro gave me
Okay.
Adams back to back.
I did. I have to switch it up on you. Can't let you get away with it too easy now.
Yeah.
All right. Vigor of government is essential to the security of liberty.
Madison.
Nope.
Hamilton.
Yep. You guessed
All
it.
right. I knew it had to be. Is that from the papers?
Federalist #1. Yes, sir.
Yep. That's yep.
Okay. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind than on the own externals in the world. This is fun.
This is fun because I have absolutely no clue who would have said that. Shoot, man. Read it again for me.
Sure. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind than on the externals in the world.
Give me a hint.
#1.
Oh, okay. So Hamilton.
No.
Oh, you're not talking about.
Not that type of #1.
Okay, number
What
one.
in our politics? He was #1 in this position.
Washington?
Yes, sir.
Washington said that. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He sure
See,
did.
now I've got to I've got to look that quote up now, and I got to figure out where it comes from.
Oh, that one comes from the Reflections on Contentment. From
Okay.
Mr. Washington.
Okay.
All right. I'll ask three to four more here. If you love wealth more than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest for freedom, go home for us in peace.
That's a good one. I know the quote. I'm just blanking on the person who said it. Was it a Southerner who said it?
I do not believe so. After a beer, good sir.
After a beer, Samuel Adams.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that sounds like something he would have said.
All right. We'll do three more here. We'll wrap up the bottom. From very hard to the hardest. The basis of our governments being the opinion of the people, the very first object should be to keep that right.
Madison?
No.
No. Is it in the papers?
Yes.
It is. Hamilton.
No.
It was Jay.
No.
No. You said it's the Federalist Papers.
Oh, yeah.
There are three
I meant something
authors.
else.
Oh,
I meant
okay.
something else. My bad.
Okay.
I meant something else.
I was
No.
like, there are three authors
On
of the
a
Federalist
paper.
Papers.
No. Different papers.
Different papers. Read it one more time.
Sure. The basis of our governments being the opinion of the people, the very first object should be to keep that right.
Are you talking about the Anti-Federalist Papers, or what papers are you talking about?
I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. Was it? What papers did he write it?
Well, let me be clear. I definitely goofed up on that one, if we're being
Yeah.
completely honest. I meant, my mind said something else. I meant
Bro led me down. Bro led me astray.
Hey, well, you know what? I got to trick you every once and again.
I was about to say,
All right.
if you say the Anti-Federalist Papers, I don't know those as well.
No, no good sir. All right. Two more.
Mhm.
Representative government and trial by jury are the heart and lungs of liberty. Without them, we have no other fortification against being ridden like horses.
Shoot. Madison. Keep
No.
going to Madison. It was not Madison. Dude,
No.
Madison had some banger quotes. I'm surprised
Yeah.
that we've had no Madison here.
You sure do not.
Let me see. Jefferson? Did Jefferson say it? Did you give me back
No.
Jefferson? No.
I did not.
Okay. Southerner?
No.
No, it's not a Southerner. Okay,
Definitely
that narrows
not.
me down.
European. Think European.
I think European. Oh, Franklin.
No.
Payne.
Another one that was there for a while. No.
Oh,
Mr.
John Adams?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I might be very bad at giving hints, so I don't know. I'm
Bro
just
said
gonna refer.
European, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, Franklin
No.
was hanging out, and then you say, no. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, Payne. I mean, he's
There we
not a
go.
founding father, but I mean, all right.
No, definitely not. Okay, all right. Next one. Here we go. The accumulation of all powers in the same hands may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny.
Madison.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Yeah, he says
And
that
then
in
your
the Federalist
last one.
Papers. He said, well, let me explain real quick where he said.
Yeah.
So just for the people who are watching, he says that in the Federalist Papers when he's arguing, he argues against the idea that we are a democracy. He explicitly says that democracy is chaos. He said that, if Athens had been full of Socrates, people who were like Socrates, it still would have been, the Athenian assembly still would have been chaos. So he argues against democracy. It introduces the tyranny of the majority. The majority is tyrannical over the minority. And then he argues against giving all one man, all three levers of power, and explains we have to split them up. That's where he said that. So yeah, keep going.
I love that. That's perfect. I'm reading all of this material coming up, so I'm going to be an expert here in a few months. Just give me some time, Mr. LaFone. All right, last one I got for you. And it's deemed the hardest. I don't know if it is or not, but
Yeah.
let's see if you get this one. Wish not so much to live long as to live well.
I've heard that one. Who said that one? I heard that one repeated so much when I was little.
Yes.
Read it again.
Wish not so much to live long as to live well.
Not so much to live long as to live well. Is it a Southerner who said that?
It is certainly not.
It's certainly not. Yep, didn't think so. Okay. John Adams?
No. You
Hancock.
want a hint?
Yeah,
No.
give me a hint.
Oh, Europe again.
Oh, okay, Franklin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Franklin.
Wish not so much to live long as to live well.
Yeah, and
What do you know
apparently
like
to
that one?
Franklin living well meant, perusing around with French prostitutes while he was supposed to be our,
Yes.
emissary to the king.
Yes, he was living his best life in his mind. But
Phew. I mean, if that's what
Debatable.
your best life is, I mean,
yeah, no kidding. We'll take about maybe one or two more questions because we do have to end this here promptly at 9:30. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them into the chat. This has been great. I hope you had some fun on here.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little bit better in my opinion being on the other side of things, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like giving questions. I like as much
You
as
like
that's what I do
receiving.
90% of the time. I like because what was that?
You like receiving questions?
Yes, I do. I like receiving questions. I like actually being able to expand on my ideas. Not so. What do you think of? Yeah, I don't like doing that.
What do you think of a Joe Biden?
Well, he's the guy that liked ice cream.
Yeah, my favorite Joe Biden quote is where he was
Yes.
like, he's like, America's a country to be described in one word.
No.
I was in excuse me. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping.
There is there is a better one than that. How dare you? We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Evident that
that
all
all-
men
you know the thing.
No, actually, another quote is where he's like at a black polar rec center or whatever, and he's like,
Yeah.
I got hairy legs.
Oh yeah.
And they turned blonde in the sun, and the little kids would come up under the water and they would rub my legs and watch the hair stand back up again. And I'm like, what the flip?
And I
What
love
do you-
little kids sitting on my lap. Yeah.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. And
You know what?
I was the only white guy he knew. What?
You know, I think that will have to be our next segment, whether I go on your show or you come back on mine. But we need to do gaffes by people and see if we can guess it. So
Yeah.
just verbal gaffes. We got plenty of
We
content
gotta
from
throw some
Biden,
Trump
quite a
in
few
there,
from
like,
Trump.
We can
Yeah.
gotta throw some Trump, like the. Can you
They're
tell me
eating the
about your
cats and dogs.
Can you tell me about your MRI, Miss Brown? It was great. They said it was perfect. Actually, it was the best MRI score ever they had ever seen. I'm in perfect health. It's the best MRI ever. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what?
You know, as much as you don't like Ben Shapiro, I think he had a pretty good point to say on this. He said, I mean, weird flex, but all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, like, okay, cool.
Yeah, my colonoscopy went great. It was wonderful. It was the best colonoscopy. What?
All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. I know you got to
I
head
see
out of
one.
here.
I
Oh, you
see
do?
one. Hold on.
Oh,
I
yeah,
see
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
There you
a
go.
couple
Head
here.
in.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
when you say read, is it okay if I read a guide on how to get a vampire? Yeah, no. Read the Federalist Papers. Literally anything but that. That is gay. That is sodomy. Okay. Thoughts on the Common Sense? Are you talking about Common Sense by Thomas Paine? If so, it's a good read. He does a good job in explaining himself in that book. He writes a follow-up called The Age of Reason, which pretty much argues for an atheistic worldview and an atheistic government, which actually, funnily enough, Thomas Jefferson wrote a rebuttal to that. So anyone saying that Thomas Jefferson was not a religious man in any way and he didn't want religion in society, Thomas Jefferson is the one who writes the American response to The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine.
It's true. There you go. There you go. Sweet. I think that's all, Isaiah. So,
Well, guess
Mr.
so. Thank
Lafone?
you guys for watching.
it has been a pleasure having you on. We'll have to have you back on here sometime. I'm sure there'll be a few more times before our official launch that we do this. So, but yeah, I appreciate your time taking out of your busy schedule, the busiest that, quite frankly, they've ever seen.
It's the biggest and the busiest schedule ever. I'm the hardest working president in history. It's true.
Oh, I love it. You should be hired for your Trump impersonation. That is, quite
Thank you.
frankly, fantastic.
It's great. I love it. Actually,
Yep.
I do.
Yeah. Well, all right, folks. That is all we have in store for today. Be sure to join me on Wednesday as I have an interview with someone who was actually one of the aides to Charlie Kirk. It's a really great interview. He offers a lot of insights, including the story of his second-born, I believe, maybe his firstborn. So stay tuned for that because that comes on Wednesday. And then Mr. Lafone here breaks down the Epstein files on Wednesday, right?
8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be going through the Epstein files. I will be showing you the text of the files, and we'll be going through it. No pictures or videos will be shown, but we'll be going through the text, and we'll be talking about all of it and all of its implications.
Lastly, where can people find you? What's your channel tag?
Yep. So on YouTube, it's actually it's everywhere. On Instagram, X, YouTube, it's at Isaiah P. Lafone. Isaiah Presley Lafone will pop up. I should be the first thing if you just look up Isaiah Lafone actually on YouTube, X, anywhere. I should be the first thing that pops up.
Yep, you heard it here, folks. Be sure to go check out his content. He's got a lot of great content, and he really dives into it. So if you want something that covers the entire basis, someone who's not afraid to stick on partisan lines, this is the show meant for you. So Isaiah, again, it has been a pleasure for everyone on here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Monday to be a part of this. And in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. God bless you all. This has been the Martin Memo Live.
God bless you.